Hello folks, it's Kissing88 here, and I'm making this video to demonstrate and talk about my thoughts on the acute bend. What is the acute bend? Well, it is an ocarina technique recommended by many players and some ocarina manufacturers as a means to make your high notes sound better. How the technique goes is as you play and you want to play some high notes such as D, E, and F, you bend your posture like this forward so that the air coming out of the sound hole is in close proximity to your chest. And that would supposedly make your high notes sound clearer and stronger. The theory behind it is that as the air coming out of your sound hole hits your chest, that will affect the pressure inside the ocarina and give more stability to your high notes. Now, what I have been finding in more recent times is that when I play the high notes using good blowing technique, the acute bend actually does not seem to make a difference. So as you could see there, whether or not I was using the acute bend, my high notes played just fine. Now, to discuss what my thoughts from these observations are. Does the acute bend improve or appear to improve your high notes from that original theory of the air hitting your chest? At this stage, I don't think so, because even when I hold the ocarina upside down, um, the technique seems to have the same non-existent effect. So, why do so many people believe in this technique and recommend it till this day, since the term the acute bend was first coined in the ocarina network? Well, I think it comes down to a number of factors. And these factors I credit to Robert Hickman, who has discussed this in the past at large. The first explanation is when you bend down like that, it changes your relative location of your ears from the instrument. So how an ocarina sounds really depends on your location relative to the instrument. What your ocarina sounds like to your bystanders or your audience, or even to your microphone, is very different to what you hear due to the relative location. So by bending down, your ears and the area of your sound generation is modified. In addition to that, when you bend like this, the sound waves generated from the source of the sound of the instrument are hitting your chest and being bounced off your chest. And what that means is that you're creating a bit of a resonating chamber using your body. And as the sound waves are reflected off your body, it enters your ears in a way that makes it sound like it's been amplified, or it's relatively louder. However, that effect may not be the same for your listeners. Third explanation of why so many people believe in this technique is that when you bend your posture like this, it affects the air that's coming out of your body. It affects your blowing technique. So when you bend over, uh, your airway, your neck is a little bit more restricted, and what that may do is create a bit of a compression effect. By compressing the air that's coming out of your body, it may increase the pressure of the flow of your breath, making it a bit more likely to hit those high notes if your technique overall is less than ideal. So to demonstrate that, what I'll do, or what I'll try to do, is I'll try blow the high note using less than favorable breathing technique, and just see how it makes a show how it makes a difference as I bend up and down. So as you can see there, you hear mostly air when I'm blowing up here, but when I'm down here, the airflow becomes compressed and creates some sort of effect that makes the note sound. This would occur even if I hold the ocarina upside down. Or sideways. Okay, it didn't work for that angle, but you get my point. It compresses and moderates the rate of air coming out of the body. So, given these observations, what are my sort of current thoughts on the Acute Bend? Well, for a more experienced player of the ocarina, I think there is some merit to the explanation of the sound waves bouncing off your chest to create a different effect to your high notes. So, how your high notes sound to a microphone directly in front of you may differ from when you play the high note like this and when you play it like this. And perhaps some performers, especially professional performers, could use this as part of their performance technique. So, for example, some professional players would move slightly further away from the microphone to play certain notes to create the effect of dynamics on an ocarina. But what do I think about the Acute Bend as a technique recommended to beginners? Well, I don't think it's truly a good solution to play the high notes for a beginner, because it doesn't necessarily encourage them to develop good blowing technique. In order to play the high notes, you should do it purely with your breathing technique by relying on the Acute Bend to either increase the overall perceived volume or to restrict your airflow and create a compression effect. I don't think that is ideal for the learning ocarinist. I think the learning ocarinist should depend a bit less on the Acute Bend and learn to play the notes using the good posture, good airflow from their diaphragm, and having a good technique overall for wind instruments. Anyway, those are my thoughts on the Acute Bend technique. Please let me know what your thoughts are in response. I look forward to having a discussion about it. Thank you for tuning in.